You're right. You're not, I mean, you could be married for 25 years happily
Mm.
and you're still learning things about the person, I
Yeah,
mean, that's just the way it goes. Hopefully, like I said, there's the chemistry, the common values and the communication that it's keeping it together. It's working. But in the beginning, you have to be a little careful who you're choosing because this decision is going to determine so much of the rest of your life.
welcome to Mirror Talk Soulful Conversations. In today's episode, we are honored to sit down with a true pioneer in the world of modern love and connection. She's the founder of not just one, but two revolutionary relationship services, the nationally acclaimed It's Just Lunch and our current thriving platform, 3000dates.com. With over 30 years of matchmaking and coaching experience, she has helped thousands of singles not just to find love, but also to rediscover themselves in the process. After facing heartbreak earlier in life, Andrea transformed her pain into purpose. A candid, practical, and empowering approach to dating has been featured on Oprah, Forbes, People magazine, and more. And with her new book, she continues her mission to guide people, especially in their 30s to 60s, through the often chaotic yet beautiful journey of finding love in the second act of life. Welcome to the show, Andrea. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And thank you for the introduction. And I just feel like I have the best job in the world. It doesn't even
Yes.
feel like a job. It's like so much fun because I meet people from so many different walks of life. It's not like I'm a lawyer working with lawyer or a teacher working with, kids. I meet all different sorts of people with all different kinds of life experience. And I, I really like it. And I like the part about, helping people too. I get really excited. Like if I look across my office, I can see my bulletin board over there and it's like got people who've gotten
Mm.
married or sent me Christmas cards. And that's exciting.
That's so beautiful. I mean, at the core of humanity is love, basically. And anyone who helps people to find love, to discover it, is doing a great job, I believe. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And like I said before we start recording, we have three stacks of cards, and I'll pick a card that's random from our first stack, which is the icebreakers. I'm shuffling it right now, and I'll just pick a card from the middle and ask you the question that I pick, basically. And the question says, "Oh, okay. What is a place you need to travel to before you die?"
Is it a place that I have not been to?
Yes, a place you have not been to.
Okay. A place I need to go to before I die. I need to go to Israel because it's like the birthplace of like so many religions and so much culture. And, I can't believe I've been to Asia and Africa. And, I told you I spent lots of time in Nigeria, where you grew up and
Yeah.
Europe. And I've never been to Israel. And there's, so many things I want to see between, I don't know if right now is the right time to say I want to go, but I am going to get there.
Yeah. I will second that. So I'd love to go to Israel also, especially Jerusalem. I would love to do the pilgrimage or something like that to see the birthplace of
Me
Jesus and all of
too.
that. Yeah, yeah. That'd be great. Awesome. Second question. Are you ready? It says, what is something you would be judged for if people knew?
What is something I'd be what?
You'd be judged for if people knew.
What would I be judged for if people knew?
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty tough question. When I first started doing what I do now, well, it was 35 years ago, but I was judged pretty harshly by my mother, who thought this was the weirdest thing in the world to want to do with my life. What I do, and helping people as a dating coach and a matchmaker. I guess what else would I worry about people judging me for? I don't think I worry too much about judgment just in general. I think I've found, and it's probably something that comes with age too. I mean, as you get older, you hopefully we get a little bit wiser and we don't worry as much about what people think. I don't know if that's a good answer, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I believe the less we fear other people's judgment about us, the more we can live our lives.
Right. Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
right. That's a good attitude.
Yeah, yeah. It could be difficult, but I believe that's the the best way to do it. Yeah. Are you ready for the last question?
Yep, I think.
Yeah. So this is level three, which is about getting deep. I believe the icebreaker question was for me already deep enough, but let's see. This says, "Do you feel lost in life? Explain."
Do I feel lost in life?
Yes.
No.
Explain. Okay.
Oh no, I don't feel lost in life at all. I feel I feel lucky, I feel blessed. I feel like I have very very good community around me, like people that I love, my family, my husband. I think people maybe that are lost in life don't have that. The community that surrounds you and really good friends. I mean, you don't have to have a lot of friends, but you have to have those people that you really care about and they really care about you. So, no, I don't feel like I'm lost in life. Now, on the other hand, a lot of my clients feel lost in life because they're looking for love, right? So
Yeah.
I'm trying to like help them with that lost factor. But I don't know. I was lucky, that I I was married for 24 years and I got divorced and look what I do, professionally. But I waited a few years before I started dating again because my youngest daughter was, still in her teens. And I got lucky and I met, you know, the greatest guy that just has a big family too. I come from a large family, six younger siblings, and he comes from a large family. So I just feel really lucky to have like loved ones around me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, what more do we want in life but to have loved ones around us? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I
that's a
agree.
that's a big blessing. So I'd like us to rewind back a little bit to your twins. I think you know where I'm heading to already, like on the altar on that day, being left on the altar by your fiance by then. Like, is it possible for you to share that story with us? Because I'm starting from there because of what you do right now. You've come a long way, healing yourself and now helping people on their own journey. So if you could go back to your twenties, being left on the
Sure.
altar, how was it? How was that like for you?
Well, okay. You want to talk about loss?
Yes.
That's when I was lost. So that was a trying time. So, I was in my 20s and I was living in Chicago and I was getting married and just a few days before the wedding, he called it off and, my world blew up, because I thought he was the one. I thought this was it. And, once I got through the whole crying and, just getting myself, kicking my butt a little bit to, get out of it. What do they say? Door slams, the window opens, right?
Hmm.
So I think it was a little bit of that. But, I started having friends that would fix me up on dates and I realized that nobody should be going out on 3 or 4 hour dinner dates, the first time with people. Remember, this is 1990. There's no internet dating. There's no Google. There's barely an internet. It's in its infancy. There was like nothing. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if there was somebody like who could handle my love life for me and just call me and say, instead of like, Andrea, we've got a great job for you. Instead, they call me and say, Andrea, we've got a great man for you. And that's how I came up with the whole idea of the company I started. It's Just Lunch.
Hmm.
And it took off in Chicago and then it took off in New York. And over the next 20 years, we ended up with 110 locations internationally
Wow.
and lots of marriages and as it grew bigger and bigger, though, what happened to me was, I lost, of course, daily contact with clients because I have 700 employees. I'm running the company. I'm not the one who's the matchmaker anymore or the one, helping people. So I got, I don't know, it was like, a serendipity or something, but I had two offers the same week for selling the company. One was to Match.com, a big conglomerate of dating services, and then a private equity group. And at the same time, I was thinking and watching, what was going on with online dating and seeing that it wasn't as much of a mess as it was in 2000 and 2005 and 2010. And it was getting better and better. And the pool of people involved in it, I mean, that, were members, it was astronomical and your odds could be so much better with online dating. So it made it a very easy decision for me to say the time's right to sell the company. And I sold it. And I did take a little bit of time off, but not much. And because what happened next then was my brother called. And so I told you I have a big family.
Yes.
He called me. He had recently gotten divorced, and he was online, and he was doing online dating, and he was like, "Oh, this is horrible. I'm meeting like the women I'm meeting, the quality, it's just not there." And I said, "Okay, Mark, give me your login and give me your password and let me go in and see what's going on." And so I go in, I look around, I'm like, this is a mess what he did. And so like I kind of fixed everything, fixed his photos, fixed his bio and his profile. And suddenly he started getting really good dates. And, now he's remarried. Anyway, all of a sudden, the next thing I knew, I'm in business again and I'm consulting with people and helping people with online dating. So I named my company 33,000 Dates, like 33000 dates.com, because at that point I'd set up over 33,000 dates in my life.
Wow.
And I had slightly over 10,000 marriages that I had, of people that I had fixed up. And I thought, people now I'm older now, right? I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm not in my 30s anymore, obviously. The people that were really struggling with online dating were 45, 65-year-old age group because they didn't grow up with the tech. And they're a little scared of the tech. They're scared of online. They're scared of AI. They're just afraid of the whole thing. Plus, none of these people imagined when they got married at 25 that, at age 50 or 55, they'd be like, oh, yay, I get to do this again. Look for dates. I got divorced or I was widowed or, I haven't found the right person. And so that's how my journey just continued in this world. It's gotten, and now we're in 2025 and it's so much better. I mean, there's 1,400 dating sites and dating apps out there. Most of them are but if you look at the top, like 25, 50 dating apps and sites, they're really good because now they verify people, they verify photos, they verify, identification. So you're getting people who are really people and not the scammers and the bots and the stuff that it was known for in the early 2000s. Okay, so now opportunity. But, there's still these people in their 50s, they're scared. They're scared to do this. They're afraid to put their picture online. There's still a little bit of that stigma of, oh, what if one of my friends sees me online or a colleague from work sees my photo online? And I always say, yeah, but if they see your picture, that means they're online too.
Yes.
So let's not worry about it because I don't know. I just feel like we've lost our privacy. And personally, I don't really care because I think it just makes it, and I guess that's part of, the issue and something that I have to help people get through that yes, your photo's going to be online. That's how you're going to meet people. That's how you're going to hopefully meet, the second love of your life. And there's nothing to be scared about doing this. You're already on Facebook. You're already on Instagram. You're already doing social media. This is really just another form of social media, but it has to do with your dating life. Oh, and then at least in the US, I'm not sure about Germany, but everyone's on LinkedIn too,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So your photos out there, you're posting stuff about yourself. All I would have to do is, take one of your photos from LinkedIn and plug it in Google Lens, and I could learn pages and pages about you, from the internet, right? So, you're already doing this other stuff. So, okay. But I guess the biggest thing that I help people with, they don't they don't know how to pick the right site. And when I just said, there's 1,400 of them, if you pick the wrong site, you're going to get bummed out really fast and discouraged, and you're going to want to quit, right? So number one thing is they've got to pick the right site. The number two thing is everyone looks at your photos, and you have to have 5 or 6 really good photos online. And that's the other challenge I have, especially with my male clients. They want to post these photos like, I don't even know why. They'll take a picture of themselves in the bathroom or holding a big fish. I'm like, no woman is attracted to that photo. No woman. So, I vet clients' photos.
Mhm.
And then the next thing I do is, once I get them all settled, they're on the right site. I've written their bio for them. We've got the good photos. Then I help them connect with people that I think are good matches for them. So when I'm doing coaching calls with my clients on the phone and it's weekly, we're on the site together. So let's say it's match.com. I would be on my client's Match account. They would be on their account. I would have gone through and chosen if it was you, some women that I thought you would like because we had done a Zoom call before and I know a little bit of information about you. And I help people with the messaging too. That's where people get stuck. They don't know what to say. They're like, I'm just going to go online and sit here and hope somebody finds me and likes me. You can't do that. If you do that, it's not going to work. Over 65% of my clients end up meeting somebody, but it's because they're reaching out to people. So the women, I'm constantly teaching women, you've got to reach out to the men with a nice message. You cannot just send them like a wink or a smile, because then the men, my male clients, then complain to me, and she didn't say anything. She sent me, a smile and basically kicked the ball back in my court, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not 1950s anymore, ladies. It's the 20s, and you're allowed to reach out to men, and it shows, a lot of self-confidence. And so that's a very long-winded explanation. Sorry, I
It's
talked so long.
it's very good. I mean, I was already cooking up some questions from what you shared. Thank you so much for that. If I could go back a little bit, you talked about finding the right sites to put yourself out. So how do you know, okay, this is the right platform for me to put myself out to? And I mean, how do you do that? How do you look for the right place to put yourself out?
Okay. So, so for instance, with you, I would do a 1 hour Zoom call. You would have filled out some paperwork beforehand, and we would have talked a lot about what you're looking for, what's happened to you in the past, what's worked, what hasn't worked. I mean, everyone comes with, some baggage. I don't really call it baggage. I like to look at it life experience. We're just getting, wiser as we get older. And then I'm also looking at like, what do you do in your free time? Are you a big soccer fan? Are you a hiker? Are you a skier? What do you do with your time? What are your interests? So I take all of like that into account, and the type of woman you're looking for, education, age, demographics, geographics. You're in Frankfurt, right? Yeah, so we'd be looking at like, around a 25-mile radius of Frankfurt for your dates. Okay, then I plug it into my algorithms, and I use 3 research groups. I use Pew, Gallup, and Nielsen for my research. And people don't have access to that. I have access to it because I pay for it. And what it then does for me, it narrows down the dating sites. And the other thing it's doing, it's telling me the dating sites that would be good for you But then also it's telling me what sites have more women than men, because obviously we want you on a female centric site, a site that has like 80% women. We don't want you on, like, I would never in Frankfurt, Germany, put you on match.com, because in your area, Match is about 75% men. So that would not be the right place for you to be on. So I'd be looking for the female, the heavily loaded, female sites with the type of women that you're looking for. Yeah, and that's really an issue, because it's hard for people just to pick the right one, because a lot of times they'll just pick, like, you might have a friend in, I don't know, Cologne, who is using a site and met like a wonderful woman, and he tells you about it, but you're in Frankfurt. And just because it worked in Cologne doesn't mean it's going to work in Frankfurt the same way. So that's how a lot of people pick sites, based on, what their friends say.
Mhm.
Um, you can't really do that. You can do some research on your own. I don't know how old you are, kind of plugging, using a little bit of AI, and, just asking, hey, I'm 40 years old. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for this. This is what I want. What sites do you recommend for me? And that will probably be helpful to a degree. But if you're going with that approach, versus somebody like me that already is very data driven and has the research, I would probably say, if you're doing that, probably go with two sites or two apps, just to make sure you're hedging your bets a little bit. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Like put your eggs in multiple baskets, not just one
Yeah,
basket.
right, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Wow. Thank you so much for that insight. I appreciate it. So, for example, if a listener approaches you and, this listener has maybe been divorced, for example, or is widowed basically at that moment, and person's feeling, for example, this sense of self-doubt, or feeling lost, or feeling this rejection, basically, what would you say to that person that is too broken, or too late, or feels like it's too late to find love again? What would you say to such a person to be able to get back in the game?
Okay. Well, there's probably two answers to that. One is, before I take anyone as a new client, I spend 15 to 20 minutes on the phone talking to them and kind of trying to get a feel for, are they ready? Are they ready for this? Where's their head at? And my new book just came out 2 months ago. It's got 15 different worksheets in it. And the very first worksheet is, where's your head at? And, like, how are you feeling about dating? Were you just widowed a month ago? You very well may not be ready. Were you divorced a year ago, but it was still a very acrimonious divorce, and it was a mess, and it was a big custody battle? I'll say to them on the phone, do you think you could go on a first date and not talk about how disastrous your divorce was? Are you at that point yet? And, I kind of make a call from that, whether or not, I think they're ready. Okay. So let's say I think they're ready. The best thing they can do, widower, divorced, whatever, the first 2 weeks of working with me is, I want them to go out on 4 practice dates, because the only way you develop self-confidence and you get over the nervousness and then the angst and the apprehension is to go out on the dates. There's nothing else. You could read all the books you want, but that's not going to help you. You've got to meet people in real life. And all of a sudden, your self-confidence is going to come back. You might have been married for 30 years, and suddenly, you're cast out in the dating world, and you're like, am I interesting anymore? Do I have anything to talk about? What am I, what's it going to be like? And that really helps people. And I say 4 is the magic number, because you'll be exposed to 4 different people, 4 different personalities, and you'll just realize, wow, I've still got it. I can still talk, I can still do this. And I think it gives them a comfort level very, very quickly.
The best way to be ready is to be ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you want to be a good golfer, you go hit balls on the golf course and practice. If you want to be a good soccer player, you play it, right? So you want to be a good dater, got to go
Yeah.
on some practice dates, got to date. Yep.
Yes, yes, yes. I like that so much. Well, I like to go back to a point you mentioned earlier, which is about, you don't call it baggages, but let's say baggages, basically, because you have people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s and beyond, to date again. And what I mean from experience, the older you get, the more layers you get in life, basically, more layers of, experiences, past experiences, families, careers, things that have happened to you in the past. But let's say maybe traumas also. So how do you help your clients, for example, to unpack their emotional baggages while still keeping their hearts open to love?
Well, yeah, first of all, their heart has to be open to love, when they come to me. Okay. I like to think about, even though that there's those layers, they're layers of life experience too. Yes, maybe we had a bad marriage, or maybe we lost our spouse and we were their caretaker for 10 years or something. Or yes, we have three teenage children that are in their nightmare years, that we have to deal with, or an ailing sick parent, or, something like that. You just have to get through it. If sometimes people are struggling, sometimes people are in therapy, and they tell me that. And before I take them as a client, if they tell me they're in therapy, I'll ask them, what does your therapist think about you calling me? Because most likely they've told their therapist that they called me. And I'll get one of two answers. She thinks it's a fantastic idea, or she thinks I'm not ready yet. And so I kind of go with the therapist. The therapist thinks they're ready. I'm like, let's do it. If the therapist thinks they still need to, because I'm not a therapist. I'm just very good at matching people up and helping them find love. And I do it from a very business, strategic, action oriented, perspective. So I'm by no means a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And, if the therapist is saying, I don't think you're ready yet, I'll say to the client on the phone, hey, I've been doing this for, over 30 years. I'll be here in a month. I'll be here in a year. Call me when you're ready. When you're ready to do this. It sounds like, you still maybe have a little bit of work you need to do on yourself, or just a couple stumbling blocks you need to get over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's a very good thing. Like, allow the therapist to do their work, and once you are ready to go, then be ready to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes. I was asking that because sometimes the experiences that we've had, the baggages that we're carrying, influences the kind of people that we attract into our lives. And that's going to be my follow-up question. Like, how do you come in between and say, "Hey, Toby, this is not the kind of person you should go out with. This is the kind of person you should go out with." How do you help people to match with the right people? I mean, that is much more appropriate to them. If I could say that, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but the right match for them, basically. How do you help them to do that?
Oh, yes, I'm very vocal and direct. So,
Okay.
like, I said that, like, we're both on our laptops together at the same time, looking at, high, if it was for you, Toby, be looking at, high potential women that I think would be good for you. And if you told me you had gone on, two dates with one woman, and you would be telling me this, just part of the coaching process. You'd be telling me how the date went, what you talked about, that type of thing. You're in it, so you don't see a lot going on. Me, I'm objective, and I'll see if I see red flags or orange flags, I'll tell you. I'll be like, she sounds like she wants to get married tomorrow. You've been on two dates and she already asked you to be exclusive and she wants to introduce you to her children. I would be like, that's moving too fast. That's
Yeah.
not good. And of course, I would know a lot more about you, Toby, so it wouldn't just be like I'd be blindly saying this to you. And then the same thing as we're looking at people online as potential dates, I can also see maybe if there's some things that aren't going to, jive with you, that aren't going to work for you. Just stuff. she said in her profile or her photos, or you have absolutely, nothing in common. I mean, you've got to have chemistry, communication, and common values. So, I don't know if you said you were, um, I don't know, let's say devoutly Jewish and she's devoutly Muslim, it's probably not a good match, right?
Hmm.
Because you're both very, into your religions.
Yeah.
So that to me is not going to be a good match. I just see problems, right at the onset. So yes, I'm very direct. Clients say I'm graciously direct, but I am direct because I want people to find somebody. And over 65% of my clients end up either married or in long-term relationships. So, so my numbers are good. I want to push you in the right direction. Same thing if you're like after every date, oh, I think I'm going to marry her. I'm going to marry her. I'm going to marry her. Like after every single date, I'd be like, okay, let's talk about this a little bit. Or sometimes I hear too, from a woman after 2 dates with the same man, that's it. He, you know, it's him. I'm done with you, Andrea. You found him for me. And
Yeah.
I'll be like, no, you're not done. You've had 2 dates in 1 week with him, and we're all on our best behavior on our first couple of dates. Okay, I'll give you a good example about that. Whoops, just dropped something. Um, give you a really good example. So I had a female client who was dating a man and it was going really well. And they were on like their seventh or eighth date and they went to a concert and they were late getting to the concert. So he had trouble parking and he got really upset about the parking situation, angry about the parking situation, and then complained through the whole concert about how far they had to walk and how far they were going to have to walk back and hopefully they could find the car. And okay, so my whole point of that story was he got angry. And, on a first date, people aren't going to do that. But as you get to know them, you're going to see their real personalities, right? And for her right away, she didn't even have to tell me or, ask me, is that a red flag? She said, I saw a big red flag. He got so mad. And, he started yelling at the ticket taker for the, parking. And I was like, get rid of him. Get rid of him. He might have anger problems. I mean, he does have anger. So, those things can come out later too.
Yeah.
Um,
It's true. Yeah. And that's why it's also very important for us to be authentic, at the initial stage of the dating. But I believe you can't know somebody completely. You have to, we're all like onions, basically. You keep on peeling each of the skin,
yeah,
from each date. Yeah.
you're right. You're not, I mean, you could be married for 25 years happily and you're still learning things about the person, I
Yeah.
mean, that's just the way it goes. Hopefully, like I said, there's the chemistry, the common values and the communication that it's keeping it together. It's working. But in the beginning, you have to be a little careful who you're choosing because this decision is going to determine so much of the rest of your life. And when I'm working with people, in that 45 to 65-year-old age group, like I tend to now, they're all, second acts, but they also still have a lot of years to live. It's not like our grandparents. Today, when somebody calls me and says, I'm 55, I know I'm so old to do this. I'm like, are you kidding me? You've probably got another good, 25, 30, 40 years to live. Let's find you somebody, that you really, really love. And, it'll be your second chance at romance.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Uh, that's a very good segue to talk about your book, Second Act. And in your book, you share these winning strategies, for people that are dating over the age of 50. And the question that's coming up for me right now is basically that stage in life. Like, how do they find true connections? I mean, are they able to understand what true connection means again? I mean, after being disappointed, discouraged, or being frustrated already, is there a way to feel that spark again, that connection again to somebody?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's different than when you were 18 and, you had that chemistry spark,
Yeah,
boom, your
butterflies. Yeah,
hormones are going crazy, right?
yeah,
We're a little different at 50. So yes, absolutely. But the interesting part about that is the only thing that I really see that's different is sometimes it doesn't happen on the first date. Sometimes it's the second or third date because people can be a little shy. They can be, they're just getting to know each other. So if you don't have chemistry by the end of the third date, it's never going to happen. I mean, sometimes it happens on the first date. A lot of times it happens on the second date. So, all the first date is pretty much like information gathering and then thinking, do I want to go out with her or him again? That's your only decision to make. Do I want to see this person again? Did I have fun? And if the answer is yes, you go. So you go on a second date and then you make that, same. And a lot of times people will tell me, I thought she was kind of cute. By the end of the second date, I thought she was really pretty. I think a lot of it's her personality. I really liked her. And I'll ask, was there chemistry? And they'll say, oh yeah, there was chemistry, but if you don't have it by the third date, she's never going to be anything more than a friend. And you're probably not looking for friends, right? You're looking for love.
yeah, that's true. So pay attention to the dates and your feelings during those conversations.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, for someone out there who is listening right now and wants to pick up the book, for example, what should the person look out for, or what should the person be expecting to learn from reading the second act?
Okay. Well, here's the book. Yay. Here's the book.
Yeah.
It's my baby.
It's a big book to a big baby.
It's a big baby. It's 400 pages, but don't let that scare you because there's lots of room in the margins to write too. Okay. It's not fluff. It's like I said earlier, I take a very like business-like approach to this and all of the worksheets, like there's 15 worksheets you're going to do, but they're fun. I mean, they're not long. They're like one page, from what I said earlier, where's your head at to, what's your brand like? And we do have brands, how are we going to brand ourselves online? We're already doing it with Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So, what's our brand? And it asks the questions to get you there. And then you get to the very last. Well, then there's other worksheets along the way, like how to vet your photos and then how to write your profile and other ones in between. But then the last one is writing. This sounds weird. Writing a business plan for your personal life. And I think that's really important. And some people are like, that is so unromantic. And I'm like, no, you've got to know what you're looking for. You've got to know, what, I mean, you're not going to put this online, but you're going to like really have to sit down, and think about what am I looking for? What qualities are important to me? What qualities did I have in other people that didn't work? And I definitely do not want this, this time around. Right. So it walks you through all of that part. And then along the way, accompanying each of the worksheets, there's a QR code, and the QR code takes you to a page on my website where it's me talking for about 5 or 10 minutes about that particular worksheet, what it means, and how it's going to help you get to that end goal of getting everything up and running online so that you can start dating.
Yeah.
So it really, it walks you through the whole process of dating, and it talks, and then I give a lot of examples too of, what do you do? When do you introduce people to family? When are you intimate with somebody? When are you exclusive with somebody? So a lot of different things like that too.
Yeah. Awesome. Where can we get the book from? I mean, it's available on your website for the information. I'll place a link to your website in the show notes of the episode for anyone who wants to, read a little bit about it. There are reviews about the book already on your website too. But
Yes.
can also get on Amazon and other platforms too.
Yes. Yes. You know what? Amazon's going to be your best price. So Amazon's the place to go, to get the book, but you can read more about the book on my website too.
Awesome. Yes. So, I mean, I'm just curious to know, like, you've been in this game for over 3 decades,
Yep.
and you've definitely seen the old dating trends shift over decades, like, from traditional matchmaking to our swiping culture right now. I'm just curious to know, like, what do you think we have lost and what do you think we have gained in this evolution?
I think we have gained so much because for this age group, so when I was in my 20s and I started It's Just Lunch, if somebody came to me who was 50 or 60 years old, I couldn't help them. There just wasn't people. Or there were, but there was no internet to find them, right? So I think we have gained so much and we've gained such a big population online that there is no reason that there's not somebody, for everyone out there. So I don't think we've lost anything because, when we were in our 20s, our biggest pool of people to meet was going to be college, graduate school, the workplace, and then it goes dead after that, right? Because then a lot of our friends are married, and then you start to think the whole world's married, which is not true. 30% of women over the age of 50 globally are single, and 28% of men are single. And single meaning, widowed, divorced, not in a relationship, that type of thing. So I think we've gained so much. Now, would I have said that in 2010? No, because the internet was, I mean, online dating was still a mess, but it's really gotten cleaned up, and the top 25, 50 sites, they do a really good job.
Oh yeah, awesome. So there's hope for someone out there, who is in his or her 50s or
Yep,
40s right now. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. Yes. Where back then there wasn't. So I think we've gained a lot, with people able to have second acts and, second chances at love. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Great. I mean, Andrea, one or second to last question, basically, like if you could look into the mirror and speak to your younger self, like the version of you that was, left at the altar, what would you say to her about love, about healing, and about the beautiful life that's awaited her?
And I'm sorry. And about
The beautiful life, that she's going to experience afterwards, after being left on the altar.
I would say you're not going to believe what the future is going to look like. I mean, you're not going to believe the explosion the internet's going to cause, and artificial intelligence is going to cause, and the opportunities it's going to give us, and the options it's going to give us, and just so many great things and so many ways to connect with people, in the United States, globally, and that you learn from every relationship. And, I learned a lot from that relationship because I think had I married him, we would definitely be divorced. So, it was good he called it off, at the end of the day. And there are, good things to look forward to in life. And we all get knocked down. It's just how fast we get up, right?
Yes, yes, that's true. It's how fast we get up. I'm so glad I had this conversation with you. I've learned so much from you, learned the importance of communication, of common values, and connection also. Like love that so much. And I would just like to know for someone out there who would like to work with you, connect with you, and maybe follow this up basically. Like what's the best way to do that?
Oh, I would say go to my website. It's 33000dates.com. And there's a couple of things you can do on there. Well, you can learn more about the book. You can also take a dating quiz and see where you rank, like compared to your other people. It's kind of fun to take. It's 10 questions. And then there's also a link where you can book a 15-minute call with me to talk to me about, whether or not I can help you.
Awesome. So one more time, the link to your website will be in the show notes of this episode. I encourage everyone out there to just check it out, take the quiz, reach out to Andrea, and you could experience your second act and sooner than you expect, actually, as soon as possible.
Right. Yeah, it
Yes,
could
yes.
happen fast.
It could happen
Yeah.
fast. It could happen right now. It could happen tomorrow. Thank you so much, Andrea. I really
Well,
appreciate
thanks,
this.
Toby. It was really nice meeting you. Thank you.
Hey there, podcast enthusiasts. Are you ready to add a little sparkle to your day? If you're loving the insightful conversations and captivating stories on Mirror Talk Podcast, here's a friendly nudge to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on the empowering messages and thought provoking discussions we bring to your ears. But wait, there's more. We're all about spreading positivity and inspiration, and you can be a part of it too. How? By sharing the love with your friends and family. Share this episode with your loved ones, and let's create a ripple effect of empowerment and growth together. And hey, if you've been enjoying what you hear, why not take a moment to leave us a glowing 5-star review? Your feedback fuels our passion to keep delivering content that resonates with you. So hit that subscribe button, share the love, and leave us a review. Let's keep the conversation going and spread the Mirror Talk magic far and wide. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, your support means the world to us.